How many people do you know who, being literally on the edge of life and death, could help themselves? Their names are Aaron Ralston, who independently amputated his own arm to avoid dehydration and not die, or how the unthinkable choice of American farmer Sampson Parker allowed him to live on. These and many other episodes of human self-rescue really stagger the imagination. This series about Jonathan Metz is one of them. When Jonathan Metz, 31 years old, citizen of West Hartford, Connecticut, was reaching for a fallen vacuum cleaner piece, his arm became stuck in the vents of the furnace.
To the basement and clean the boiler that heats my house and my hot water.
As the video begins, we see a side view of a split system with a furnace installed vertically in a basement. When the homeowner goes to the thermostat, he or she raises the temperature from 66 to 72 degrees. As a cutaway view of the furnace is shown, the draft inducer is engaged and begins to draw ambient air through the system to provide oxygen for combustion and to vent the combustion gases safely out of the house while the furnace is running. Fuel, in this case natural gas provided by the utility company, passes through the gas valve and is then distributed to the individual burners through the manifold. Ignition occurs and that heated gas begins to heat up the individual tubes that together make up the serpentine-shaped heat exchanger. These combustion gases are drawn up through the heat exchanger by the draft inducer and begin to lose some heat as they travel the length of the exchanger.
After 12 hours of yelling for help, Metz had no sense of when he would be rescued. Now take a look very carefully. There is in this part of the furnace or boiler that Jonathan's hand got stuck. These older models are the most dangerous. Don't repeat this at home. He said he became desperate when he started to smell rotting flesh and knew had to take extreme measures if he was going to survive. According to his words, it took him about 6 hours to psych himself up to the point where he thought he was capable of actually doing what he thought needed to be done.
That left me with only one other option that I could think of, which was to cut my arm off.
After about 18 hours of being trapped, with his arm stuck in the boiler, he fashioned a tourniquet out of the shirt he was wearing, tied it as best as he could, and started cutting. As luck would have it, he had the blades that he would use with some of his power tools. Metz said about halfway through the cut the pain became absolutely too much to continue.
I was astonished when I was at least an inch deep into my arm and hadn't felt anything other than mild discomfort.
He said that he would describe he guessed what was a near-death experience that point. He had given up. It was then that he began to think about what he would leave behind if he was never rescued, he said.
I started having these images about my dog, Porsche, upstairs, who was probably also battling dehydration as me at that point, and my fiance, and my parents, and my friends.
With dehydration setting in, Metz could feel his tongue swelling and knew he needed water. He was able to turn on the boiler release valve and drink some of the dirty water. The water, which he scooped up to his mouth with his sandal, gave him new energy and he continued calling for help. Eventually, friends worried after not seeing Metz for 3 days alerted police. Metz was falling unconscious when rescuers found him. Could be if his friends hadn't alerted police, headlines would have proclaimed his death rather than his amazing rescue. Finally, rescuers ripped apart the furnace using heavy tools and completed the amputation. Unfortunately, the arm could not be reattached due to infection. The doctors of hospital said that the way that he did was frightening, admirable, horrifying, brave, and just amazing to them. Metz's attempt saved his life because sepsis, when the bloodstream is overwhelmed by bacteria, was beginning to set into his injured arm. Today he's 44 years old. He works in General Electric as a lead financial systems analyst and still enjoys his life.